Okay, today we're going to make a terrarium. Now, a terrarium is a completely self-contained little garden. We're actually creating a little biosphere inside this glass container. You can use any kind of glass bowl. It's a good idea to have one that has kind of a smaller opening on the top, and I'll show you why. This is an interesting dessert bowl. We have gathered here everything that we're going to need in order to create our terrarium. So the first thing you're going to want to do is get some activated charcoal and put a small layer, maybe about 1/4 of an inch, on the bottom of the container. And the reason for this is charcoal is going to enable this terrarium to stay very sweet smelling. There's a lot of moisture that's going to be in here, and this is going to absorb the extra moisture and just create a very nice effect. So I'm just putting enough here, maybe one more handful, to cover the bottom of our bowl. Then you're going to use any good quality potting soil. This is a nice organic potting soil. It's very light, and very carefully I'm going to just take little handfuls and create a soil layer. Now, the one thing you want to think about when you're putting in your soil is take a look at the shape of your container. You want the soil to come up just to where the bowl is going to reach its maximum diameter. So we're going to put several more handfuls in here, gently, not disturbing that charcoal layer as we go. You don't have to press it down very much, just sort of lightly with your fingers. You don't want to make it too compact. This is a big container, so I'm going to need a little bit more. Just kind of eyeball it as you go. I think 2 more scoops. Looks about right to me. And now the question becomes, what do you want to plant in your terrarium? We have here a nice variety of plants that would be perfect. These are little plant plugs. And because this environment is going to be kept very moist, you want to use plants that are actually going to like living in that kind of environment. This is a type of moss. It's called a Selaginea. It likes the moisture. This is another moss that looks kind of pretty to me. And this, interestingly, is a fern. This is a white rabbit's foot fern. And I think this will be pretty. To add a little color, we're going to put in a miniature African violet. So let's start with the African violet. You're going to carefully take it out of its pot and then do a little grooming. I forgot to bring scissors out here, but I'm going to pick off just a few of the outside leaves. Make it look symmetrical, make it a little smaller. You can do this with shears, or I'm just doing it with my fingers. Take a look at it till it looks right to you. I'm going to maybe take off 1 or 2 more. And then, because we don't have a very deep soil layer, we're going to take this root mass and press it up. Make it a little bit flatter. And then gently decide where we want to put it. I'm going to put it a little bit off center. Create a little space in your soil and very gently just seed that African violet. Now, I've got here a little plastic sort of plant spike. I'm going to use that to gently seed it. Maybe I'll press up a little soil around it. Make sure it's sitting firmly, but you don't have to worry too much about digging it in. That looks about right. Now I think I'm going to add the fern. I'm going to do the same thing with the, you can see if I were to put this in just the way it is, it's going to sit up above the soil line. So I'm just going to carefully separate these roots, press it down, open it up just like this. It's going to make it a lot easier for it to be seated. And I think we'll put that over here. Easy. And I think I probably have too many plants, so I'm just going to put one more. I'm not going to use that moss. I'm going to use this one. It's also another Selaginella. Same thing. It's pretty wet, so I'm going to just carefully sort of press up that root ball and put it in here. Gently seed it. I feel like we have enough plant material. What you can do at this point, take a look around. You see I've got a little soil that's gotten on the leaves of the African violet. A small paintbrush is handy to just clean that off. Clean that side off a little bit. Just make sure everything looks okay. Looks pretty good. Now you could leave it like this, but let's have a little fun. What you might want to do is put something to cover the soil up to make just for effect. You could put moss in, you could use marble chips, you could use small pebbles. I'm going to use some fir bark. I like the color of this, and I'm going to very carefully, starting around the edges, just sprinkle a layer of fir bark in our terrarium. Not going to worry too much if it gets on the leaves here, because just like I did before with the little paintbrush, I'm going to be able to clean that off when I'm done. You can see how that adds a really nice color. Just keep turning the pot. I really made a mess there, but that's all right. A little bit more over here. And I'm going to drop some, just a little bit in the center there. Now with that paintbrush again, first thing I'm doing is going to clean off this African violet. African violet is not the best plant to get all dirty because those leaves are a little bit hard to clean, but we'll make an effort here. You can do better than I did on that, but that's pretty good. Clean off the others. Clean around the sides a little bit. I'm leveling out this fir bark. Now we could be done at this point, but another thing that's fun to do is find some little found objects that you could put in here. So this is a little wrought iron, little sort of trellis. You can find these in dollhouse stores or craft stores. I think maybe we'll put this in and see how that works. Maybe over here, just to create a little height. We could do that. This is a little miniature clay pot. Let's add that, maybe right over here. Could stop there, but let's do one more thing. And also at craft stores, you can find little miniature bird. And let's just put him in. That's kind of sweet. Again, I'm going to try did a little bit more of this bark that I got on the leaves of the African violet. You can see how you don't want to do this because an African violet leaves are a little bit mossy, sort of. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually clip off that one. Scissors, I would do better. If I really were more concerned about this, I could just take the African violet out and start again. But I think this will be okay. The last thing you want to do before you're done is to water it. And again, you want to be very careful about watering. The big thing about terrariums is they'll do fine except if they're overwatered. Also, you can see there's a little dirt that got on the side of the terrarium. So what I'm going to do is take this sprinkler and put it on, not on spray, but on it sort of the finest gauge. And I'm going to water around the edges and let the water run down the side. Especially if you have an African violet in there, because they don't really like cool water touching their leaves. Just let that water run down. I'm keeping my eye on how much water is going down. You can always add more. You can see, if you can see how the water is spreading out. You want to cover that low level, but you don't want to overwater. A little bit more, and again, maybe you can see the soil, the wet soil sort of reaching out. Believe it or not, that's just about enough. The last thing we want to do, because we want to really control this environment, is we're going to find a top. Now you can get glass. If you have a container that has a glass lid, that's great. If you don't, you can improvise. This is just a glass saucer, small plate. It just happens to be almost exactly the right size. So we're just going to use that as a lid. There you go, there's your terrarium. This water will clear up a little bit as the water settles down. Now this terrarium just needs to be in a brightly lit room. It does not need direct sunlight. As a matter of fact, you don't want to put it on a window, because the glass from the window and the glass from the container is going to make it too hot. Keep your eye on the plants and on the water level, and really it shouldn't need to be watered again for about a month. Everything we have here, everything you saw me do, all these containers we have here at Laurel Gardens. So come on in and we'll help you make a terrarium.